Start your business for the freedom of time. Now you're tired of the hustle and grind. There's gotta be a better way. It's time to listen to Chill and Prosper. Welcome to Chill and Prosper. You're ready to chill and prosper with Denise Duffield-Thomas.
Hi, beautiful. It's Denise here, and welcome to Chill and Prosper, my weekly podcast for all things manifesting and, stuff, life. A big shout out. I loved this last time I did it. I said, send me a picture or let me know where you were listening from. And I had people who were like, I'm listening in the pool. I'm like listening at the beach. I'm in the car with my kids. And I had, photos of people waving. Oh my God, all of the beautiful kids who know the song, the intro music. I love that so much. Feel free to send me a little video. I won't share that on social media unless you want me to. But I love, it's so weird sometimes. I have a love-hate relationship with fame and attention. And that might sound weird for someone who has a profile, has a podcast. But really, I sit and I create these in a room by myself. Josh is listening. But I sometimes forget that it goes out in the world and people actually listen to it, and then not only listen, but take the advice. And so I love sometimes just then sitting and connecting and going, wow, there are real people listening. I want to know where you're listening from, like what country, what city, what town you're in, who you're listening with, your pets, your kids, your dogs. Are you listening with your partner? Are you riding around? I want to know. So send me those pictures. You can email them in info@denisedt.com, or you can just DM me on social media as well. Honestly, it just makes my day. Okay, so today's episode, I'm answering questions. And of course, if you have them, you can email them in as well. The first question is from Shannon, who's a psychotherapist. A really simple question that sometimes has layers is, how do you maintain positive energy when projects don't go as planned? Okay. And you might think, oh, that's never happened to you, Denise. You're perfect. No. I think this can be really, really tricky. And I see sometimes people are afraid to set goals, especially income goals, but afraid to even set things like launch goals because they're worried about not achieving them. And so they don't even get to that place of going into action in the first place, which I don't know if that's you, Shannon, but I'm going to talk to that one first. So I want us to get to this place where we go, dreaming is free. I'm allowed to dream. I'm allowed to ask for what I want. And what will happen if I don't achieve it? Okay, so I will want to reassure you, I've failed many times. There's no knock at the door and you don't get hauled off to jail because they're like, hey, you said you were going to do this thing and you didn't, so straight to jail to you. That doesn't happen. The second thing that doesn't usually happen is that people aren't going to be like, you're a loser. I think we're afraid of that. Sometimes people are like, oh, you're such a loser. That happens way, way less than you think, right? What does happen though, however, is that there can be that sense of disappointment in ourselves, 100%. But we can mitigate that. And I'll tell you a couple of ways that I do that. The first thing though, is that we can be so, so, so hard on ourselves. And we need to celebrate, sometimes ridiculously, delusionally celebrate. Okay, so my first ever course, I know I've talked about this a lot. My first ever course, I had one person join the course. And I've seen people quit entire businesses over that outcome. They're like, I'm a loser. I have to refund that person. I'm so embarrassed, whatever. I was so proud of myself. I was like, I can't believe that someone is going to pay me for me to tell them what to do. As a Virgo, that's a dream. I've been doing that for free my whole life. Someone's going to pay me just to take advice from a Virgo. My God, I feel like such a success. And that person, she came to every webinar. She was the only person I could see. It was an audio webinar, never asked a question, didn't have chat in those days. And I was like, this is the best. How can it get any better than this? Now, I've seen then people do the other way where they're like, not got a single sale at all, right? And again, the humiliation, the shame, the disappointment means I've seen people quit whole businesses over it. And of course, I'm not gaslighting you and saying, oh, don't be disappointed in that. But sometimes we don't see the bigger picture. I'll do the course example because that's a really good one, right? There are so many moving pieces to creating a first course. So if you've created it all in advance, but even just putting together a sales page, figuring out like how to connect Stripe to your payment system and all of that. And it's usually late nights, insecurity, freaking out, feeling sick in your stomach, procrastinating, all of these things. And then you get to launch and no one buys and you go, it was all for nothing. What a big fat loser. I can't believe I did this. I didn't even get a result from it. And so what you have to realize when you do something big like that, it's not about the thing. You're planting a seed. You're planting a seed and you are overcoming resistance. That action, taking that action is worth potentially millions of dollars to you if you think about it in that way. And so for me, knowing that that one person paid me, I was like, if I can do it once, I can do it again. If I can do it once, I can do it again. And it's easier the next time, because the next time you launch, one, you've got buzz, and each time you launch, like people will be like, oh, I'm not going to join this time, but I'll join next time. And Jeff Walker teaches this actually in his product launch formula. I've got a lot of resources around launching and all that kind of stuff. If you're interested, go to denisedt.com/PLF, product launch formula. I don't know if he's doing a launch right now, but anyway, I'm an affiliate for his program. But he talks about this, about how the first launch, it's called a seed launch. It's literally called a seed launch. And it's like planting a seed and not everyone buys that first time. Some people now, every time I launch Money Bootcamp, people go, I've been waiting to join this for 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, 4. And I just go, well, thank God I keep on launching because at some point they're going to join, right? But it's that feeling of like, I am such a failure. It's been for nothing. Or some people go, but I've promised this, group and there's not going to be enough people in it. And I would say if you're launching something for the first time and you know that you don't necessarily have the numbers to have a big launch, there is some practicalities around that. Don't offer things like, oh, you're going to have this community of hundreds of people the first time. You could just go, you know what, you can, email me with your questions or whatever. Because I do see sometimes people go, oh, I'm so embarrassed. But you can also, I remember I did a course one time, and I said to my cousin, hey, do you want to do this course for free just so you can be in the group? And she actually said no, but she was like, oh, no, thank you. It's not what I want. But I was like, you could literally just have a couple of people in there if you wanted to, everything, like Marie Forleo says, everything's figure outable. But it's like, it's okay for you to start where you're starting. And it's okay to see it as a success and see it as a seed for something else. So that's the first thing, right? The next one is sometimes when bad things happen, it is such great fodder for creating something new. Now, it could be, you go, it was a failed launch. I did something wrong. I made this big mistake. You might not feel like sharing that straight away because, people say share from your scars, not from your pain. But when I hear someone make a mistake like that, I think that's going to be a great chapter in your book one day. That is going to be a great story you can tell to Oprah. And I think that helps you to be a little bit delulu sometimes too, of going, there's no mistakes, it's just lessons. But knowing that can really help someone. And even the fact that I talk about getting one person, people go, but you've been successful forever. And I go, no, everyone's got to have to do their first one eventually. Everyone's got to do a webinar when nobody turns up. Everyone's got to have a failed thing. And I can tell you some of mine, first time I tried to sell from stage, massive disaster. I felt like such an idiot. Hardly anyone bought. And I remember coming off stage and saying to Michael, how many people want? And he was like, 3. And I was like, I felt terrible. But the fact that I can talk about it means that I've built some resilience. I can show people that they're not alone. I can share lessons from that. But also it's that, I know I'm someone who will just keep on trying. And that becomes part of my self-identity. I'm someone who just picks myself up and I'll do it again. I was listening to Chelsea Handler on a podcast, and she talks about how she headlined this big show. She was like up and coming comedian, and she said she just did so badly, like so badly that people were just afterwards just going, oh man, like, are you okay? Because that was really bad. And she said, I was so young, I just thought that's the end of my career. And then she's like, nope, booking another gig, doing another one, getting straight back on the horse. And that's where you do have to do that sometimes, right? You just have to get right back on the horse. My last tip on this before I move on, hopefully this helped, but Shannon, sometimes we have to get perspective. And you know how people say touch grass? I don't know if you've ever heard that. If you're online a bit too much and someone goes, touch grass, it's kind of like, go outside, take a breath, get into the real world a little bit and have some perspective, all those things. And so for me, that could be go jump in the ocean, and to remind yourself like, oh, the world keeps on turning. The sun's going to come up again. This too shall pass. It's okay. I didn't die. I'm a good person. Everything's going to be okay. And that might be just taking a couple of days offline, or doing something, go for a massage, shake off the energy. And there's something there too about how animals shake things off. They literally shake their body. It's a somatic kind of thing. There are so many people who talk about different somatic practices to shake, literally get things out of your body. So you can go and get a massage, go work with someone, and literally just let go of all the tension. Write down your lessons for it, and then when you're ready, you can share that with other people. So make it like an exciting, positive thing. Yes. Okay. Thank you for asking that question. And you know, like things will happen. You can learn from it. Plant that seed. This is my $1 million seed. Okay. Let's take a quick break, and then I've got a juicy question coming up from Paula. Hi, Paula. See you in a sec. It's your time, and you're ready for the next step. It's your time, and you're ready for the next step. It's your time, and you're totally ready for the next step. So many times we are waiting for the perfect moment, for all of the green lights, or for someone else to tap us on the shoulder and say, you're ready. But it has to come from inside you, and you can declare yourself ready now. Put your hand on your heart and try it with me. It's my time, and I'm ready for the next step. If you know deep in your heart, even if you're scared, that you're ready to let go of some of your money fears and finally profit from your skills and talents, it's time to get to work. Your next step is to come and join us in Money Bootcamp. You can work with me as your money mindset mentor and join our beautiful community so you can really give yourself permission to make money and change the world. Click below to find out more, but don't wait any longer. Come and join us today. We're ready for you, and it's your time, and you're ready for the next step. Okay, welcome back. So I'm answering questions today. Oh my God, I just sounded so Australian then. I'm answering questions today, mate. And this one comes from Paula Cashin. Hi, Paula. She's been in my community for a long time. The Quiet Confidence Coach. So her question is, profit margin, ? I'm trying to figure out what a good profit percentage to aim for might be after expenses and taxes. I'm cutting out unnecessary subscriptions and other extras, but I want to make sure my target is realistic. What percentage of your income do you aim for to save or keep as profit? I don't even know if I'm asking this the right way. Now, I love that you asked me this question, right? Because I'm pretty honest and open about the fact, one, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not an accountant, and I'm actually not great with some of those things. I have dyscalculia, which is like dyslexia with numbers. And so sometimes like number stuff can be quite tricky for me. I also think there isn't necessarily a hard and fast rule. It always depends on what you want to achieve. So there's been times where we've had an 80% profit margin. And it's because maybe that year we didn't have huge expenditures in things, or we were really focused on sales. There's been other years where I've had maybe a 50% profit margin or probably even less. I reckon last year was less. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. And it could be because it was like a really investment heavy year. So there's been years where we had to invest a lot in video production or a lot more photo shoots than normal, or we had to a new website or some big kind of, like big capital expense that wasn't necessarily, a regular one. And then we've done that deliberately for growth in future years. There's been years too, so for example, last year where I wanted to kind of take a year off, we did have to kind of look at expenses and to go, look, if we're not really focused on big launches and focus on that income coming in, we do have to be more realistic about some of our expenses. And there was 1 month which was unheard of for us for a long time, where we didn't even break even that month. And it was because it wasn't a launch month. I didn't have a lot of payment plans coming in because we didn't do a big launch at the start of the year. And we were like, oh shit. But then I was like, oh no, we have to look at the overall year. And we were just used to always having these massive kind of big months, and knowing that we kind of deliberately did that to give ourselves, a bit of spaciousness. This year, we're not necessarily doing a ton of launches this year, but this will be an investment heavy year too, where I haven't done any video stuff for a while. So the first quarter of the year is going to be like lots of, podcast production. I've got 3 photo shoots booked this year. I've got a video shoot booked this year. So I do need to make sure that we're also bringing in that income. So I know that doesn't answer your question. I want it to be personal to you. What do you need to feel safe and secure? What level of profit do you need to pay yourself a good salary? What level of profit do you need to hit some of your income goals? So maybe this year you need to make a lot more profit because you want to invest in a house, or you want to invest in more support, and you wanted to make sure that you have that coming in. So it really is like not being scared to look at your numbers, not being scared to look at your overall launch strategy and go, when do we need that income to come in? Do we want to offer a payment plan? Do I want to offer subscriptions? Do I want to offer bundles for people so then we have that income? Do we want to focus on e-course sales this year and more passive stuff? Do I want to focus on speaking gigs? It is so personal. For me this year, I don't want to do any speaking gigs, and I actually do want to ramp up some of our lower cost e-course products, especially since, people are feeling a bit more pinched for the economy. But saying that, we had people joining Money Bootcamp, more people joining in at the start of the year than we had for ages with no launch. So I want you to sit down. What income do you want to make this year? What level of profit do you want to make? Do you want to look at it monthly, quarterly, or for the whole year? And really just sit down with yourself. Yeah. And then it gives you information, that you can then track as you go. So I love getting those monthly reports at the end of the month where I see, my accountant sends me my profit and loss every single month, and I can sit and look at that. To set your intention. Okay, hopefully that helps, Paula. Thank you for sending that question in. Okay. All right, so this one is from Deanna, and she's put herself as a future flight attendant. Oh, Deanna, that's so, I love that, future flight attendant. Okay, so delegating. How do you know when to let go and hire out, especially since you've done it in the past? It's been a disappointment. Okay. This is, team, I think, is such a money archetype dependent thing. So if you're in my money archetypes course, we have a whole section on team, right? Because everyone does it so differently depending on their money archetype. So if you don't know your money archetype, go and do the free quiz at denisedt.com/quiz. This is a game changer. And then if you're interested in exploring that work further and knowing more about your archetype, you can come and join the e-course version of it, right? Because in the team example, I talk about every single archetype and what some of their challenges are when it comes to hiring. Okay, I'll give you a couple of examples here. So alchemists, for example, always chop and change. They come up with a million different ideas. They can struggle to hire someone sometimes because they don't know who they are week to week, month to month. They can impulsively hire someone and then the next week they're like, well, I have no money, I don't know what I'm doing now. Or they like sometimes, not saying this is all the time, they can be a little bit tricky to work for because they need someone who's flexible enough to chop and change when they change their mind, right? So they need someone to kind of pick up the pieces and to make things happen. Maybe they hire a completer finisher, okay? Now, an accumulator struggles to hire because they don't want to spend the money. They go, it's cheaper and quicker for me to do it myself. Why would I hire someone when I can just do it myself? And I don't want to hire someone and then have that, expense every month. What if it doesn't work out? Because often accumulators can be a little bit pessimistic. And rulers have a similar thing, but it's more like they're too busy making the money to hire someone to help them make more money. And so it's always like, I'm too busy. It's just quicker to do it myself because I'm doing it at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's too late now. Let me just finish this busy period and then I'll hire someone. And they never get through the busy period, right? Nurturers hire people who they feel sorry for and then they end up doing all the work for them and paying them. Connectors do it too, but they hire friends. It's just every archetype has a different reason why they find it hard to hire. And every archetype, though, has an opportunity to hire in a way that works for them. Okay, so a great example of this is a maverick likes things now. Instant gratification, when my attention's on it, otherwise no. So a maverick might hire someone for a very short period of time to batch a whole bunch of stuff for them. And a great example of that is that for a maverick, you might go, like this podcast, right? I'm in my studio, I'll do 12 episodes in one day. And for me, that works because it's like my personality. I like thinking off the cuff. If I had to do it at home, I wouldn't do it. So I'm kind of trapped in this room for a whole day and I do what I do best, right? And so it wouldn't make sense for me to hire someone to work with me the whole year on doing my podcast. It would bore me to tears. It needs to be wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Okay. But if you've got that personality, you feel guilty because you think, no, I've got to hire the way other people have said that I have to hire people. And I remember hiring a VA one time and I felt so guilty every week. I'm like, what am I going to give you? But I was bored. I was like, oh, but now I'm over that thing. So when I hire someone, it needs to be short, sharp, packed in, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Give me the instant gratification and then let's never talk again. Or I need to hire people who I don't need to train. They just do it and they never talk to me about it. So how do you know when to let go and hire out? So I actually have a lot of advice for this in my book, Chill and Prosper. I'm going to take a really quick break and then I'm going to talk about just in general how you can kind of go through and decide what you personally should hire out, and then just a couple of tips. But remember, go do that quiz first because it might give you some ahas about why you've struggled or why in the past it's been a disappointment. Okay? All right. I'll see you again in a sec.
So I have done the money boot camp and I love there's so many things I could share, but one of the things I loved is the incremental upgrades and the idea that you're like, you start slow with the upgrades and it feels like it's going really slowly and then all of a sudden it'll just be massive. And I just went, oh, okay, well, all right, let me do it. So the first thing I did was I got sunglasses, which I had a really beautiful pair of sunglasses like 8 years ago. And then one day I sat on them and I was like, that's it. Like, you're never getting any good sunglasses again. You don't deserve it because you just sat on this, and that's it. You're too responsible for it. So then I always had these crappy sunglasses, but I love sunglasses. So I got these sunglasses and I got 2 pairs. And actually the less expensive pair was an Anchor that I started having, because they're like rose gold and they just like make me feel like hot and like I got my shit together. And, I've got this selfie of myself where every time I'm feeling a bit like wobbly, I'll look at that and be like, yeah, okay. So I upgraded that and like just did the course, and then literally within probably six to 12 months at the very most, I think it was less than that, we bought the apartment next door. We have done an entire renovation of the whole place within a year, and it was like it started so small, and then it just went like these massive opportunities came up that would never have been there before. So that's been incredible, and really just also like as a female, it never occurred to me that it's not a common thing to be like not only a breadwinner, but like running a company. And I was just like, oh, this is just what you do. And then just realizing there are so many things that you face that are not only you, like whether it be the tax thing or whether it be, oh, I can't make more money than like the male figures in my family. And like, just doing all that work to like see what's in the way, the negative consequences, has made a really big difference with that. So, yeah.
Okay, final thought, but oh my God, I just forgot that I'd already, like, we're already at the end of this podcast, so I might have to draw it on a second one. But in my book, Chill and Prosper, I talk about before you like hire someone, go through this little process. So number one, eliminate. Nobody should be doing this. And it could be that it's something that's outside of your scope of your zone of genius, or it's just not something you want to offer anymore, or it's busy work, or just something like that, right? So what can we eliminate first that is just not in my strength? And knowing your money archetype is a really good way to figure that out too, right? The next thing is, what can we automate? An example I always use on this is sometimes someone will ask me to be on their podcast, and then we'll have emails back and forward about, what time zone are you in? And what time zone are you in? Someone goes, I'm in Mountain Time. And I go, I don't know what that is. And it's like, that can all be automated. We can have online calendar. I can click it. It converts my time zone. And what can you automate? It could be like follow-up emails, reminders for people, invoicing. You can automate all of those things. And you don't need to necessarily hire someone full-time for that. You could just hire someone to set that system up for you one time, and then it's done. And then you can go, what can I batch up myself? So if I'm going to, do my podcast, as I said, I'll sit here and I'll do 12 episodes, and then they're done for the next quarter, right? And so I think, if you're going to do work, how can you batch it together so then, once you're in the mode, you can do as many as you can, right? And that there's ways you can do that in lots of different industries. If you make stuff, how can you batch that process? How can you make that easier? And then you figure out, what can I delegate? And then, does this need to be a full-time person? Could this be part-time? Could this be a contract role? Could this be a short-term thing? Is this something I can just outsource to somebody and they do it for me in one day? Is this something I can learn from a coach, or a one-day VIP day, or a course? And then you don't have to always hire in the same way that anyone else has. I think sometimes there is a lesson there about, I'm worthy of support. I'm allowed to have it how I want to have it. I'm allowed to do things differently to other people. So go and read my book, Chill and Prosper. I think if anyone has thoughts about doing this, but also I mean, if you already have my money archetypes course, go to that team section, revisit that, be honest about what you need for your archetype, and follow the tips there about how to hire. You can also use the archetype work in your job descriptions to hire the right person. That's a game changer. I'll have to talk about that on an upcoming episode. But I think my final thought is, you're allowed to have an easy life and business, and you're allowed to have things the way you want them to be. You don't have to do anything like anyone else. Okay, so thanks for listening to this episode. Hope you got some juicy nuggets out of it. As always, let me know, and I will see you on next week's episode of Chill and Prosper. Take care. Bye.
Start your business for the freedom of time. Now you're tired of the hustle and grind. There's gotta be a better way. It's time to listen to Chill and Prosper. Welcome to Chill and Prosper. You're ready to chill and prosper with Denise Duffield-Thomas.